Hey friends, Grandmaster Brown here. Today I'm going to talk about one of our teenager students who became a black belt and then an adult in our school. I'm going to just call him Nate. Now, when Nate started, he was making super grades. He was respectful and helpful at home and was already a very talented athlete. Now, just so we're clear, we as your instructors have different goals for you or your kids than you do. Parents typically want their kids to be confident or to have better self-discipline. Maybe they see how this improvement will help them as they become adults. Many don't think past the problems that they're having right now. The kids' goal, they just want to have fun. They aren't self-aware enough yet to know anything but that. Adult students typically, but not always, want some fitness, some legit self-defense skills to feel more confident and to be more motivated to work out, unlike the gym across the street. Now, we as your instructors, however, we want you to hit some amazing aha moments in your training that changes your self-view and takes you to a closer towards self-actualization and more fulfilling life. It sounds a little woo-woo, but I've seen it happen to thousands of people through their training here at Ancient Ways. All right, so back to Nate. He's not the first or the last student I've had whose skills and abilities were so good that the rewarding challenges for him to overcome were less than some others. And that's a whole different topic. But I encountered something different with Nate. All the way through the classes, he was obviously seeking to make things harder for himself, more difficult, more of a challenge. It's not uncommon for people who don't have stress in their lives to create it. Now, you can watch media and you can see why so many rich celebrities end up in ruinous situations from cheating, drugs, booze, gambling, and alcohol. I said alcohol twice, didn't I? All right. I knew Nate was never going down any of those roads, but he desperately wanted to be challenged by something, and it may sound odd, but he even had a subconscious desire to fail. Now, this became evident as we approached his black belt exam. I had already briefed everyone that was involved that we were going to really push him. It was what he wanted. He didn't know this, and so he came to me and he said, I want to spar twice as long as most people. I want to do all the forms 2 or 3 times each. I want to break concrete instead of wood and do all the weapons forms too. Those were electives. I told him that we had to keep the test within a certain time frame for his family, who had traveled from all over the country to be here to watch, and they aren't really going to understand what they're seeing anyway. I said, just go with it. He was respectful and he said, yes, sir. Now, during his test, we still pushed him hard. Twice he was sick, but we kept going. Hundreds of kicks and strikes, long periods of bag work and mitt work, sparring 10 people for 5 minutes each, 9 different forms, taking 15 minutes to get through all of them perfectly. Ground fighting, grappling techniques, throws and takedowns, combative drills and agility. He was amazing. No one watching doubted his skills or his ability, and everyone thought he was adequately challenged by our standards. But you could tell he was a little disappointed. The reality is he really wanted to fail. In his subconscious, something was brewing. His imposter syndrome and internal self-loathing didn't believe he deserved to be successful or happy. The standards he put upon himself were so high that he was just driven and driven. However, he accepted my ringing praise of his abilities and my announcement of his exquisite passing to black belt. He was respectful, as we expected, and he seemed happy, even if subconsciously it wasn't exactly what he wanted. His family and all my black belts celebrated this remarkable achievement. He trained a little bit longer, but prepared to go off to college early. Now, he already had his AA degree upon graduating high school, so was looking for at least another 2 years or less to complete his bachelor's degree in finance. He did it in a year and a half. He stayed in touch, passed early with top honors, and then took the exam to go on to the master's degree program called the GRE, which some schools require. Not an easy test. I remember feeling overwhelmed by it when I took it. He failed it. He hired a tutor, studied, took it again, and failed it again. He called me to talk about it. He was upset, very emotional. Now, I don't really like to give too much advice. I prefer to lead people to the right answers through asking questions. So I asked him how old were most people when they took the test. He said like 25. I was 26 when I took it. I asked him how old he was. He goes, just now 20 years old. I said, do you think you'll be more prepared in 5 years to pass the GRE? And he thought about it a minute. He goes, yeah, probably. You know what? That makes a lot of sense, actually. Then I reminded him that everything in our lives happens for a reason. That reason is always to benefit us. We just have to figure out how or live long enough to see backwards and understand. I said, imagine yourself in 5 years looking back. At that time, you will realize that this is the best thing that ever happened to you. Now, you can waste time speculating why that will be and probably get caught up in all kinds of pointless conjectures, or you can step onto the path before you and find out the right way. Yes, sir, he said. He ended up being recruited within a very short period of time by an international financial advisement firm who sent him to their own training. Now, this training is an intense 6 months designed to weed out the weak. He blew it away. And he told me later that it was superior to what he would have gained from getting his master's degree. Today, he is super successful, makes a serious living, will retire very young, has tons of free time for his family and to travel the world, and still actively train in martial arts. He takes long overseas vacations a couple of times a year, taking his family along with him. He finally failed at something, and it directed his path towards success. This is a great lesson for those of us who encounter lots of mess ups in our lives. It is those challenges, those failures, those obstacles that dictate our correct path if we stay open to it. In the words of the great last emperor of Rome, Marcus Aurelius, the obstacle is the way. Hanshi out.